Well, there's no getting out of it that people do tune in for lack of a better word, the wrestling match, and it is definitely getting way, way too ridiculous. Now, these are still real people, although I don't really like Aaron or Nora. They're both, frankly, kind of the same thing. There are people in the background I'm more concerned with, like real victims, and it is going to do a lot of damage, not just to quote the movement, as whatever there is left of it, of anti Scientology, but there are people that are probably going to get taken down with them because, when usually these kinds of people self destruct, they don't want to go alone. So it's definitely going to be, I think, a very tense time. So this is a kind of speculation video where likely, given the Dedant lawsuit, which I just did a video on, where it's likely to proceed. Now, Aaron put out a video where technically he is calling an end and moving on. That's technically what he's doing. But he did another video where he said he is definitely going to go after Nora. And it is an incredible coincidence that at the same time, Aaron is vowing to move on, I guess, except for Nora, because Nora is like an exceptional, brutal exception. And I can't argue there. On many standards, Nora is repugnant on many levels. You can't escape that. It is an incredible coincidence that this lawsuit is happening. So unless Nora wisely negotiating wrong, the lawsuit will proceed, and there is a jail sentence attached. So this is a serious crime. So she can go to jail, and people think this is not. No, this has happened already with other people on YouTube, other creators. They have gone to complete battle and war. They do go to court. They do have a lawsuit. Somebody wins, somebody loses, and somebody makes money and somebody loses money. As far as I know, Aaron has not yet filed a lawsuit formally. But really what he promised was to just get rid of her channel, and really put an end to this nonsense. Now, we know why he's doing this, because Nora's exposing too much. Aaron is getting tired. He doesn't want to see that anymore. So that's why she needs to go away. So it's not for the right reason that Nora is what she is. And I'll be totally brutally honest, the original version of this was me leaning on, which is there, but I'm going to make this more lightly, the comparison to her in a certain, well, don't necessarily putting, certain Austrian painter from the 1930s. I know immediately people are going to start getting crying in the comments, and that's going too far, or what do you mean by that? Or I'm just meaning this from an analytic point of view. If you took out a checkbox, and I've said this as a real expert, we don't really know what fascism is. We don't have a really strong definition. If you don't believe me, just read this very strong book called The Anatomy of Fascism by Paxton. And his specialty is usually French fascism, but he read very widely the literature and just said, yeah, we don't really have a singular unified definition, so we have to just settle for these are competing definitions. Nevertheless, we do have broad criteria of what makes a fascist. And you go through the check boxes: victimology, violence, right, psychopathology, authoritarian attitudes, no respect for democracy, etc., etc., etc. And then, of course, you get the more bombastic elements like, uniforms, right, a mass party, so on and so forth. But those are not technically necessary. There is where I would fault Paxton, because he thinks only, and the good people are pushing back on this, only Mussolini and Hitler for him were real fascists. The other forms of fascism were derivative, or not really pure, or they weren't really capital F fascism. They were just whatever they were. They were very bizarre authoritarian systems. I disagree. I think legitimately or not, whether you like them or not, Pinochet, Suharto in Indonesia, and so on and so forth do count as fascist. So anyway, but that's neither here nor there. But if you take out the checklist, yeah, she seems to be ticking off all the boxes. So this isn't really an attack video. This is more just analytic historical video. I would forewarn people, because although probably Nora deserves to go to jail, being brutally honest, she's not a good person, the record does show some puzzles here. Because people have this mythology of Hitler. What should have been done is that they should have taken care of him and put him in jail. And it's like, he did go to jail. He did go to jail. What happened is the Nazis tried this preemptive coup, which ended very badly, and Hitler was tried. They had a whole trial. He went to jail. Now, it was not much of a sense. I mean, they gave him a lot of privileges. Again, remember, he was considered a soldier, kind of a war hero, so they took it very lightly on him, but nevertheless, he did go to jail. And it is one of the biggest paradoxes or mysteries, which we're still researching, that after he came out, you would have thought he would have been more embittered, the Nazis would have gone more revolutionary, more violent, but instead, they made a very concerted decision to go legal. What means going legal? Like, become a serious, formal political party, and the rest, as they say, is history. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm not making an identical comparison, like one-to-one comparison. You can say many things about the painter, but you really can't say that the painter was stupid. I'm not doing this to insult Nora. I'm just stating a fact. Like, you know, the painter went to jail. He produced Mein Kampf, good or bad. If Nora goes to jail, again, I'm not even wishing this upon her because she doesn't have a family, but she's just making so many errors, and she's going to do something that's going to go too far. But I don't think she's going to produce anything like that. Good or bad, Mein Kampf is a very powerful, a very bizarre book and changed history. She's not going to do that. She just doesn't have that kind of brain power. Like, we know this for a fact because Hitler's literal library, we found it. It's thousands of volumes. It's in Washington, D.C. So if you want to take a look at the hundreds and hundreds of books he went through, you can do that. Nora's not that type of person. So she's an authoritarian. She's a bit of a gangster and a bit of a thug. And I know this for a fact because I've got confirmation behind the scenes that, yeah, she still bullies people. So she's pretending that, and I'm sure she did, make apologies and make up with several people. But as I say, it doesn't seem like she's fundamentally changed. Now, granted, she's more relatively calm and less hyper than she was before, but she still does it. She just gets into these moods and just has these violent outbursts on camera in front of her own audience. Even her own audience, rarely, they do it very rarely, but they even challenge her on very minor things, saying, I don't know, it seems like your language, all this cursing, it just seems like you're kind of acting like Aaron. Don't you see that? And she just goes buck crazy and wild and starts getting huffing and puffing. So I don't foresee a good end to this. So what is the game plan? Because I've thought this through and speculated. And again, going back to what I said earlier, Nora's not too bright. Her strategy is always really very simple, and it's not hard to analyze. It's always two steps. One, play victim card. And she does this endlessly. Always keep mentioning, guys, I am gay. Guys, I am a woman. And yes, I am not joking with you. She recently tried, although thank God, I don't think she's saying this anymore, but I'm sure she's going to return to this. Guys, I'm partly Jewish. Now, maybe she is partly Jewish, but I'm like, are you seriously trying to invoke the memories of, I don't even want to go there. That's just disturbing. So she's trying to push every single victim card. I'm not really white. I'm a woman and I'm gay. Also, I've been traumatized, so on and so forth. And again, some of this is true. She is a woman. She did go through trauma. She's also a woman who inflicts trauma on other women. And I figured that one out. So that's step one. Now, step two is where it gets a little more tricky. But we all know that step is find a demon, demonize the demon, make the demon the worst demon of all time, and also emphasize step one with step two, right? And then we all know the pattern by now. Initially, it was Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard and Miscavige. If anything wrong happened with her, who gets the blame? L. Ron and Miscavige. And we got to be honest, that at least sold pretty well. Even though, of course, there are some questions here like, wait, well, yeah, we understand you were indoctrinated and brainwashed, but why would you do this? Why would you do that? Why were you slandering these critics of Scientology? That don't make any sense. Wouldn't you be on the same side? But for a few years, that was the going propaganda. And then she switched to Mike Rinder. And that became a big thing for her, a big campaign. But like many people, and it wasn't just me, I was wondering like, well, we got to be brutal here. He's going to die. Like, what's he going to do when he dies? And we got our answer. Aaron. And again, it is like Elron, as well as Rinder. There's something there. There's clearly something there where there were legitimate issues, as there really are, but the demonic portrayal is like so fantastic. It's like it really discredits serious people who can bring up serious issues with Aaron or Elron or Rinder. Like, there are serious issues of them also being authoritarians. However, she does these weird demonic portrayals that are so ridiculous. They're like, that just didn't happen. Like, I've found her many times just saying, Elrond didn't do that. Elrond didn't say that. Elrond didn't write that. Same thing with Aaron's. Like, you can say many things about Aaron, but he didn't do that. He didn't say that. I was there for these lives. I'm like, that's not what happened. Aaron had to fundamentally go through the numbers and say, no, I'm not buying subscribers. You just made that up out of nowhere. Again, I don't like any of these people, right? Miscavige or the painter, or Aaron or the painter, and so on and so forth, or Elrond and the painter. But at the same time, it's like, why are we lying about them? It's just like, why are we doing that? But that's been her game plan. Victim card, demon. Demon, victim card, demon. And I kept wondering to myself, well, eventually even the Aaron card is going to get worn thin. I can do Aaron videos till the end of time because I have a principle. I don't like authoritarianism. But what's Nora going to do? That I don't know. But I will say, these, again, if the lawsuit continues, I have no doubt she's going to capitalize on this. So I think that's what she's going to switch to, is try to link Aaron and Dedant, which would make no sense whatsoever, but that's never stopped her before. I mean, she was linking Rinder and Aaron together for a while, but it's like, I thought they were enemies. But then it's like, hey, it's patriarchy. She's a feminist too. So it's always very confusing why the demon is hooking up with the other demon. I thought the demons don't work together, but hey, whatever. So I would predict it is going to get more and more crazy. And I would assume that's where she's going to go, is just now merge Dedant, DOS, and Aaron as the new trilogy of evil. It doesn't make any sense, but I'm guessing that's at least in the immediate future. But further than that, I don't know. I think she's going to run into troubles because I just don't see, beyond Aaron being the big juicy meat, who is she going to hook onto? Zero Dark Tony? She's used that up before, but I don't know. But I think that's going to be her basic strategy: is demon, victim card, demon. But she's running out of demons, so I don't know. Is she going to have to invent a whole new demon? I don't know. But I foresee, if the worst does happen and she goes to jail, I don't know if that's going to moderate her, or she's going to learn the right lesson to calm herself down. It could be she is going to get a lot worse, unfortunately.